After the Buddha's parinibbana, the teaching stood at a crossroads. But thanks to Venerable Mahākassapa, it did not scatter, it was gathered, verified and sealed in truth. At the First Saṅgha held in the Sattapaṇṇi Cave near Rajagaha, 500 fully enlightened bhikkhus, all arahants, each declared by the Buddha as foremost in specific attainments, came together. This was no ordinary gathering. It was a sacred act of preservation, guided by urgency, wisdom, and unwavering fidelity to the teacher's words. In the center of the assembly, an empty seat was placed for the Buddha, not as decoration, but as a solemn reminder. He alone is our teacher. His words are the standard. Venerable Mahākassapa presided, not as a ruler, but as the guardian entrusted with the sasana. He did not recite, he asked. For the Vinaya Pitaka, he turned to Venerable Pipphali, whom the Buddha had named foremost in monastic discipline. Point by point, Mahākassapa questioned him. Pipphali, why did the Buddha establish this rule? And Pipphali replied with precision, the exact incident, the monk involved, the place, the time, and the wording of the rule, down to the last syllable. Venerable Ananda, who had memorized every discourse the Buddha ever gave, sat nearby, not as a speaker but as witness. When it came time for the Sutta and Abhidhamma Pitakas, Ananda recited them word for word. The entire assembly, arahants with flawless memory and liberated minds, listened and verified. If even a single word differed, they paused until it was resolved. No room for error, no room for opinion. The result, the 3 Pitakas perfectly organized. The Vinaya Pitaka, 21,000 units of discipline, in 5 books, Parajika Pakitiya, Mahavaga Kulavaga Paravara. The Sutta Pitaka, 21,000 discourses in 5 Nikayas, Diga, Majjhima, Samyutta, Anguttara, Khuddaka. The Abhidhamma Pitaka, 42,000 profound teachings on mind and reality in 7 books, Dhammasangani, Vibhanga Dhatukatha, and so on. Together, 84,000 Dhammakandas, the complete path to liberation, preserved exactly as the Buddha taught. Now what about the commentaries? Some assume they were added later as personal views. That's a serious misunderstanding. The Atthakatha commentaries, like the Samanta Pasadika, contain explanations that existed from the Buddha's time, passed down orally alongside the canon. But during the First Council, time was short. The priority was to secure the root text, the actual words spoken by the Buddha. Background stories like that of a queen's servant who once stole money meant for flowers, then later became a devoted lay supporter, were part of the living tradition, but not recited aloud then. They were preserved separately in the commentary stream because they help clarify meaning, but only after the core teaching was fixed. Later, when teachings were endangered by war or decline, Ika sub-commentaries were composed, not as new ideas, but as structured guides to protect what was already there. And yes, monastic scholars counted every word, tracked syllables, measured lines, and mapped how sections formed books. This wasn't academic rigor, it was spiritual responsibility, because if the Dhamma is distorted, the path is lost. That's why only arahants participated. Only those free from craving, aversion, and delusion could transmit the teaching without bias. But Mahākassapa didn't stop at words. Knowing future generations would need more than texts, they'd need a living connection. He turned to the Buddha's relics. He approached King Ajatasattu and said, "May your majesty be blessed. Let us enshrine the relics through a dhatu nidaha, a sacred burial, to protect them for ages." The king agreed. Mahākassapa retrieved relics from 7 cities, but